Ladies and gentlemen, welcome.
Señoras y señores, bienvenidos and welcome.
My name is Derek Santiago.
My name is Beto Perez.
And welcome to the Average People video show. What up, Beto? How you feeling today, man?
Good,
Let's get it, man.
Let's go. Getting started. We got to send some love out to Two Streams. Thank you so much for partnering up with us. Also, Matt Reynoso, King Matt, man, behind the scenes. Thank you so much.
Matt in the building and Two Streams, man. Amazing. Las Catrinas.
2023, we got the ball rolling, man. We good.
We good. Man, so Beto, today we have a special guest, man. Bro, South Bay, I think might be in the building, not only with me and you, but we got the homie, Nick James. What up, Nick?
Before you get into Nick, what does Nick do?
What's good?
Man, Nick, what do you do, man? So many things, right? Let me explain to everybody who doesn't know, because I feel like
give him a proper introduction.
I feel like South Bay is definitely pivotal.
Okay,
you know what I'm saying? But
okay,
my guy, man, sports anchor.
Okay,
man, world-renowned sports journalist. My boy's been in ESPN. My boy's been in Baco.
Okay.
My boy's been in Roswell, New Mexico. We need to get the aliens.
Has he ever been
stories?
in a high-speed chase though?
I don't.
He's in the South Bay.
From the police or from a female? That's a good question, dog. We gotta ask.
He does have the last name James. He might be a little Rick James in him.
I'm Nick James. Dude, has anybody ever made that?
Oh my goodness! When Dave Chappelle came out with that, it was on and cracking.
Okay,
oh,
Nick James.
I still hear it at work to this day.
Really, Nick James?
Yeah. Well, I can't finish the sentence, but I mean, yeah, you know the drill. Yeah, it was hilarious. I was catching it for show.
Nice, man. Well, thank you for joining us, man.
Absolutely, no doubt.
It's been amazing, man.
I'm Chula Vista ride or die all day, every day.
Chula Vista,
South Bay, National City, High.
Come on, man. Come on, man. Hit it. Break it down.
Chula Vista High, baby.
Hey, so what got you into the sports anchoring thing? Because one day we were at Blue Tattoo downtown.
Blue Tattoo,
you know what I'm saying?
Getting it in, hanging out.
And then the next thing you know, like ES, what up, ES, Secret Service? He was like, "Yo, Nick is doing the sports anchor thing." And how did that transpire?
How old were you first when you started?
So when I started late in the game. What happened was I think I started in my late 20s. So what happened was I was the kid that graduated from Chula Vista High School.
Let's go.
Didn't really know, like, hey, I want to go to school. I don't want to do that. So I took about 3 or 4 years off trying to figure it out.
Dang.
And then ended up, I was working at the commissary at 32nd Street, bagging groceries with the homies. Mm-hmm. And one of my boys there, he played football at Southwestern College.
Okay.
And he said, hey, we play flag football together. You should come out here and play. I was like, I didn't play any ball in high school. He's like, so what? And I was like, okay, cool.
You play any sports?
I played hoops in high school.
Got you. Okay.
So I was a hooper in high school. I played football. Oh, I'm sorry. I played basketball in high school, and then I picked up football in junior college. So I played in junior college. We were playing flag football. Then the homie said, hey, come play ball. So I ended up playing a year at Southwestern. Then I played a year at Grossmont. And when I was at Grossmont, I transferred after my first year at Southwestern. We went 0-9-1.
0-9-1?
0-9-1. I think we tied. I think if I remember correctly, we tied either Mount Sac or Saddleback or San Jacinto, one of those schools. I can't remember. We were like, yeah, we tied. Yeah.
Y'all tied it up.
We had a bad season.
So tied 0-0.
Yeah. We went 0-9-1 that season. And then I transferred to
emphasis on the one. My bad.
Yeah, emphasis exactly on the one tie. So I ended up transferring because my cousin was actually playing. I didn't know this at the time. He was playing at Grossmont. So I went out there to play with him at G House.
Got you.
Keely Smith.
Yeah, Keely
was my quarterback out at Grossmont, and he was
number 2.
Yep, third pick in the 99 draft. So it was Tim Couch, I believe, went first. Then Keely went second to the Bengals. And then I believe Donovan McNabb went 3 that year, if I remember correctly. Well, it was Tim Couch.
How do you remember all these?
Because he's a man.
Yeah. I believe it was Tim Couch, and then I believe it was either Donovan McNabb or Keely. They went 1, 2, 3. I can't remember who went 2, but I remember Tim Couch went 1, and I think McNabb went 2, and then maybe Akili went 3.
Congratulations to Akili.
I know, man. Come on, man. Akili got it back.
Yeah, so he's out there. But to rewind from that, before that all popped off, we were just sitting at the house. I was just watching the games with the homies, watching the games. We had just came back from Caliente, so we're watching the games. We got money on the games. We're yelling at the TV, and how I got into the broadcasting thing before I ended up going back to college. The homies, I would say stuff before the announcers, the broadcasters would say it. So I'd be sitting there, I'm like, man, he ran the wrong route. He needed to go deeper. And literally 5 seconds later, the guy on
That's
TV
what they were
would
saying.
say it. And we were watching the game together, and it was like the whole game. I would say something, then the guys would say it, like literally after that. And I was with like 3 or 4 of the homies. And at the time, I was just going to Southwestern at the time and just trying to get my associates, not knowing what I wanted to major in.
Right.
Homies were like, you need to go do that.
Yeah.
And that's how I kind of got into the broadcasting thing. And from there, and then I went back to school And then I started doing the school thing, and I started doing all that. So I was working at NBC with Jim Lazovic. He's a legend at NBC. I was working under him, and then I just learned through him. Then I was interning at a bunch of places. Then I went, after I graduated from college at CSU San Marcos, I went to go work at ESPN as a production assistant.
Wow. Yeah.
So I was working with Stu Scott, Dan Patrick,
rest in peace,
Chris Berman.
Wow.
Yeah, all those cats.
So you were just
Scott Van Pelt, all those cats that you
SVP.
see, SVP. So all those cats that you see on ESPN on a daily basis, I was writing out their highlights for them and then shooting them the highlights. Obviously, with Stu Scott, he put his stank on it.
Yeah.
Booyah and all that.
He was the first one.
Yeah,
Huh?
so he put his stank on it, but I would just give them the basic information, and then they would go out there and then they would put their thing on it.
Yeah.
But so I was out there for a year.
Yeah.
And then I realized, you know what? I want to be on air.
Nice.
And then that's when I realized, okay, I got to be on air. And then the on-air trek took me from you. I was surprised you knew about the Roswell and the Baco. But my first on-air job was in Cheyenne, Wyoming.
Okay.
Roswell, New Mexico.
Okay.
Lufkin, Texas, where Des Bryant is from, East Texas, where a lot of good high school ballers out there.
Yeah.
So I went from Lufkin, Texas. So I was on East Texas. Then I went to Lubbock, Texas. So I was in East Texas, West Texas. And then I landed in Bakersfield. And then Paul Rudy actually is solely responsible for me getting back to the pad.
Wow.
So Paul Rudy called me. He's like, Nick, I'm going to the morning show. We're looking for someone to anchor on the weekends.
He just wanted somebody to have the two first names, huh?
Yeah.
Nick James and Paul.
Oh, dang, Paul Rudy.
Paul Rudy.
You got
You got Paul and you got Rudy, two first names.
It sounds like 4 different people. They're like, we're going to build a whole squad.
Yeah, there you go.
It's really just 2 people.
Exactly. Yeah. So he
That's
was
super average.
Yeah. so he was solely responsible for getting me back home. He
Yeah.
was like, hey, I'm going to the morning show. We're gonna slide Brandon Stone up to Monday through Friday, and then we're gonna need someone to anchor on the weekends.
Yeah.
So he reached out to me because I had been working on the PPR in previous years, and then in between stints of running around the country, I would come work on PPR, then I leave, then I come back or whatever. And so he always just had me, in the rear view, just like in the back of his mind. He's like, hey, we're making moves. Do you want to come back home? And I was in Bakersfield at the time, and I was like,
I'll be there in 5 minutes.
I was like, hell yeah, 'cause let me know what's good. And then so they offered me the job, and in February, and then we hit the pandemic.
Dang. Okay.
Yeah.
So you've been on the mix. You've been in the mix for a while.
But I thought they were going to pull their offer because
Yeah.
we didn't know what was going on with the pandemic and everything.
Right,
Like it
right.
had just happened.
So you were dealing with average situations and scenarios.
Just like everybody else, right? So when the Super Bowl or whatever it was February. We're like, okay, life is good. Then March we hit the pandemic.
Yeah.
And then I actually was like, oh, is the job still on the table? This like, yeah, we're gonna Zoom. We're doing stuff. We're gonna come out of it. And then they were right because I thought they were gonna pull their offer. And then I got here in April of 20. Those first 6 months when we were dealing with the pandemic were tough.
Yeah, especially
we were Zooming with kids.
Yeah.
Are you guys gonna play?
Yeah.
And then the kids decided they're gonna play a shortened season in the spring for football. And then everything kind of got back on track.
Yeah.
I'm kind of veering off the path.
No,
but
no, it's fine.
I'm just telling you how that all happened.
For quite
though.
some time, though, they didn't have any games, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
How
they
did that
canceled-
affect? Did you get a chance to converse with any of the seniors, and how did that experience
It
go?
was devastating for the kiddos,
Right?
Because they didn't get to walk out with the parents,
Yeah.
give them the flowers. They didn't get to have the applause and all that. So so those seniors that year, they really, really got shortchanged.
Does that affect their stats as far as going into like an NFL or trying out?
Absolutely, because they weren't able to get their film, especially for the football kids.
Wow.
Like the other sports, they kind of got theirs in. The football, they got shortchanged because they only got a 5-game season.
Right.
The other kids, they got their sports in. It was limited, but like that's when we realized, like, hey, we can do this if we mask up. We don't have too many people in the gyms or et cetera.
Got you.
They were able to kind of to get their stuff going. But the football kids, they kind of got shortchanged because instead of getting 10 games of film plus the playoffs,
Yeah.
they had a short season, 5 games, and then just got it in. And like if you have 2 or 3 bad games and you only play 5, you don't get any film, you don't get out, you can't create your huddle video. That's what the college recruiters and the scouts are looking at.
Was there like a shortage in scouts that year?
I don't know if there's a shortage in scouts, but just everything. And then also what happened with that was the kids that were in college, they all got their year back. So these seniors that were thinking,
they got older. They got an extra year
so
of eligibility.
Right. So the kids that were going to leave, like, hey, this kid's going to bounce, I can just go in and fill in that spot.
Yeah.
Everyone got their COVID year back.
Yeah.
So you see these kids that are still playing. I'm like, man, he's this one cat's been in the league for 2 or 3 years already in the NFL, and then you still see guys that are in college, and they were at the same school together.
Yeah.
So it's like
That's
it's like
wild.
Chris,
Man.
like it's like Chris Olave and Jack Tuttle.
Yeah.
Chris Olave and Jack
Shout
Tuttle.
out. What up, Chris?
Yeah,
what up, Uli?
What up, CO2? What up, CO2?
What up, Uli?
Yeah.
Uli Olave in the building. Olave family, man.
You know
Come
what I'm
on,
saying?
man.
He's South Bay, right?
South Bay, man. All three
but
brothers.
Like I was saying though, Chris was playing. Chris decided to come out after his junior year or whatever that was out of Ohio State. Now he's playing for the Saints.
For those for people like myself that have no clue about sports, give us a little background on who Chris is. What you guys are talking about? Because I'm lost.
For sure.
So what I was going with the how did that mess people up with the COVID year and things of that nature? So Chris Olave and Jack Tuttle. Jack Tuttle was an amazing quarterback coming out of San Diego. They played together at Mission Hills. Mission Hills
together.
High School. Yeah, they played together at Mission
in San
Hills.
Marcos.
In San Marcos. So they were at the same high school together, same year. And then Jack Tuttle ended up going to Indiana. So he was in the Big Ten, and Ohio State is in the Big Ten, and that's where Chris Olave went to school. So
and he broke all the records. Chris Olave broke all the records.
So CO2
wide
was
receiver.
out there balling, doing his thing or whatever. And then I think he came out after his junior year. So he's in the league now. So it was
New Orleans
Saints with
Saints.
the Saints. And then Jack got injured. Then he got his COVID year back and this, that, and the other. And he just went into the transfer portal. Now he's going to Michigan.
Yeah, that's so crazy,
So what's
man.
crazy? What I was saying
crazy.
was like how the kids were getting their years back.
Yeah.
Chris is going to be in his second year next year in the NFL, and Jack is still in college because everyone got that year back. So I'm saying these kids were playing together.
Yeah, so it's interesting.
And now they're just the time frame's just a
yeah,
little
that's
off.
interesting because Beto brought up how to impact like eligibility and like drafting and all that stuff. But like it's crazy, man. And you have a wealth of knowledge with sports, but we also know you got a wealth of knowledge with music, man. You know what I'm saying?
Not like you in Secret Service though.
All right,
but you know what? There's
what's the background on the music? What's your background on music?
I mean, I don't know where Derek is. I don't know.
What do you
Derek
mean? What's playing?
Service.
What's playing? I mean, apart from San Diego music, what's playing in Nick James's car right now on the way down here?
I mean, I'm playing.
Come on, man.
I mean, a little Dreezy. You know,
See?
but I'm old school though.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what we're transitioning
Blue Tattoo
to.
days. Okay.
I mean, come on.
Blue Tattoo. We're talking Biggie. We're talking
Hip-hop.
Pac. Cube.
What about San Diego music?
San Diego. I mean, I used to listen to Derek and ES.
Okay.
And then who else do we have here?
Who is Derek and ES?
Secret Service.
Let's get it in
Okay.
the building.
Secret Service.
We need to give backgrounds, bro. People that are tuned in don't know background.
Yeah,
you gotta
yeah.
you gotta give the
POD.
people the background on who you are, what you do.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Let's go. Let's go.
POD, man, let's
POD.
go.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And Derek was on Secret Service. They was on the radio doing their thing.
They
Yeah,
sure were.
man.
They were out there doing their thing.
You guys were the longest now for Secret Service. You guys you hold the longest
Airtime, and like for the longest record that was in rotation for a local artist, but we were regional. You know what I mean? But the reason why I ask about the music thing is because Rolling Stone just came out with a list of the 200
Am
top.
I on it?
No. But there are some people that are debatable on there.
Okay.
But they came up with the top 200 singers of all time, which is opinion based, 100%, right?
Is Chalino on there?
Chalino is on there, dog.
No way. I doubt it.
Oh, Vicente's on there.
Vicente for sure. He's number 95.
What about Selena?
She's like 84, I think.
Do you know who's in the top 10? Or do you know who number 1 is?
Who?
Aretha Franklin.
RESPCT, bro. Come on.
Aretha Franklin.
Put some
dog.
respect
Tell
on
me
that.
what it means to me.
Nah, but you know who else is on there? Otis Redding is number 9.
Mary Wells ain't on there?
Mary Wells is not top
I know
10.
way more songs than Mary Wells than I do Aretha, with all the respect.
Beto, who do you think who is in your top 10
Top
of
10?
singers?
All times?
Yeah, all time, dude.
You gotta have.
And there's no English. It could be whatever language.
You gotta have like a Pavarotti in there, right?
A Pavarotti?
Yeah,
Really?
yeah. You gotta have them in there.
He hit one of the tenors.
You gotta have them in there.
Who
You
else?
gotta have Vicente.
I think Vicente deserves to be in there.
You
Dude.
gotta have. I'm not the biggest Elvis fan, but based on his, he's top 50.
Sade belongs in there. Top 50. Sade belongs in there. I feel like
bro, I can't.
When I think about the greatest singers of all time, I think about who has resonated with me. I'm not thinking about
you got to have Phil Collins in there, right?
I mean, right? Or
Top
you-
100.
Barbara Streisand?
Barbara Streisand.
Top 200.
Top 2.
Give me one Barbara Streisand song.
Wow.
Top two.
Okay.
Got you on that one.
Okay.
I mean,
Okay.
you're saying top 10. I mean, Barbara Streisand, yeah, 200.
Right.
But
Now,
when
are we
you said
looking
the
at?
top
Are we
10, you said
looking
top
at? Are
10.
we looking at like sales? We're looking at overall what they did for us.
Well, I think that's I think that it's how it resonated with me. I think that, you know what I mean? And I think that Luther
Vandross.
Luther Vandross.
I'll take Pavarotti back. Then I'll go with Mary Wells. She's on the top 10.
What about Mary J. Blige? Beyonce was in the top 10.
Lauryn Hill.
Whitney Houston was top 3.
Lauryn Hill, I feel like she's only got one solid album though. What did we get after that?
Miseducation.
What did we get after that?
Miseducation.
What about Jill Scott?
Jill Scott?
She's dope.
I love Jill Scott.
She's dope.
I don't know, not my top 10, but it's a tough one, man. Vicente's got to be on my top 10 though. For sure. Top 10.
Okay, I got you.
I'm going to break that one down for sure.
Okay. Selena is in your top 10 too or no?
Selena's like my top 250. with all the respect, you know?
Top 250.
Where's Selena on for you?
Top 250.
You know?
I'm riding with you, compadre. We're right there. But yeah, no, I think that
Dios mío.
Ay, Dios mío. No, but I think that it's important to trip out on people's opinions because I think that these lists come up and they kind of like, you know, shake the tree a little bit, especially when you hear hip hop. Like, for example, like when I saw this, I was like, really? Like in my whole history of music, I've never heard a list about who's the greatest singers. And then when I've heard the list, I've never heard like top 200. Like it's always been like top 10,
200
top
is a
20.
lot.
It's a lot.
I can't even name 200.
I wonder how many
you know
people
what I'm
get behind this and be like, hey, you know what? We got 1,000 people and they're all going to vote on this.
It was 3 people. 2 people put the list together and somebody signed off on it. And they were like, yeah, put that out. Put that out.
We got to do something.
I couldn't even name 200 in like all the genres. You know what I'm saying? Like if I really thought about it, that's a grip.
That's a lot.
That's a grip.
And I wonder if like what record labels are behind this stuff.
I mean, there's definitely some people pushing.
Yeah.
Especially, I mean, I think that there's only...
I think Rolling Stones was Rolling Stoned on that note.
Hey, did Rolling Stone, the magazine, come out after the Rolling Stones group?
Come
on, Beto, I need you to know this, man.
Okay. Hey, señoras and señores, let me look at my Wikipedia. Yeah, it did actually. It did. Yeah, Mick Jagger sat there and was like, I'm going to put my 200 list of favorite piano players. No, I don't know.
I know, it's just interesting because like when it comes to hip hop, like I know that there's a lot of debatable content out there that says like top 10 or top 5 or top 5 dead or alive is like the cool term that people say, right?
I feel like a lot.
It's just different. I didn't mean to cut you off, Beto. I'm just saying, I think back then when we were younger, like 10, 20 years ago, the music back then is way different than it was.
Way
right now.
different.
Like, because I mean, when you ask me what's on my playlist right now, I mean, I bump Drake and them and every now and then, but I mean, it's Jay-Z, Pac, Biggie, like just
90s?
like just the 90s digital underground, like the stuff we grew up on.
Underground, one of the most
dance, you know what I'm saying?
underrated
like,
groups ever.
Oh yeah, just the stuff that we grew up on there. When we're going to Moose's, Blue Tattoo, East Street Alley, Cafe Sevilla, Ole Madrid.
Dang.
That was when the music was bopping. Now you can bop your head at the club a little bit now, but then I'm like, I guess I'm so far out of touch that I'm like, I don't really know this one.
Nick's at the club bumping jazz. He's like, yeah.
What about you, compadre? Do you like the new music that's out?
I do. Yeah, not all of it, but a lot of it.
Yeah,
90% of it.
I know that that's your job. So, like, when you listen to the new music, do you think that like
I feel like the music
I feel like
the music that I get when it gets to me, like they got better songs on their albums. Their music selection sometimes, like whoever in radio world decides like this is the record we're pushing, this is what we're going with. I feel like sometimes when you listen to the album, there's way better cuts on there.
Right, I know. I feel you on that, and I'm the same way because I'll go to these games. I'm like, oh, this is kind of knocking a little bit. But if I don't keep up with what's going on with the kids, because I cover high school kids,
that's
like KUSI, we're driven by hyper local, all the high school stuff. So I'll hear something at a basketball game. I'm, oh, that's knocking. Who's that? But if I don't keep up with what's going on with the kiddos and their music, you know, I won't know what's cracking. I mean, I know my stuff from, when we were younger. But if I don't know, like, okay, the gritty, they're doing the dance. I'm like, if you don't keep up with it, you're going to be left in the rear view. And for me to be hip and run around with the kids, and when I go interview them, if I can't speak their language, it's not going to go over well. So I try to stay in the mix with what is going on currently. But I mean, my heart is always going to be with like, the 90s, you know, I mean, 112, I mean, Peaches and Cream, you know, we can, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like you said, Mary J. Blige, Fugees.
Yeah.
Nick, I got one question. What about the kids? What about the youth inspires you?
I just, what inspires me is watching these kids. You catch them in like 8th grade because we cover middle school and all the way up. And then I just see them mature. And next thing you know, I'm doing their signing. Young man's going to USC. Young man.
Who's one kid that you followed that you're like, man, I am extremely proud of this kid, and I've watched this kid grow from this day to this day?
Young man when I was in Bakersfield, because I was with him from when he was like a 9th grader, and then I was there for about 4 years, and he's actually now at Stanford. Young man named Ben Urasic. So I actually watched him play 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade, and now he's playing tight end for Stanford.
That's dope.
And he's going to be in the league. You know what I'm saying? He's going to be playing on Sundays.
Get you feeling emotional,
So
man.
it's like, oh, I saw him when he was a young tyke, and he was just a specimen.
Yeah.
But I mean, that just popped up to mind. But just the Lincoln kids, all these kids, you know, that started from the bottom, now they're here. You know, like all these kids are coming out of Southeast out there balling. Going D1.
Yeah.
I mean, Roderick Robinson, young man, he's was balling this year. He's going to Georgia.
He's a beast,
a kid from San Diego going to Georgia.
Yeah.
I mean, I know Terrell Davis is also from Lincoln.
You're right.
He landed at Georgia, but he went to Long Beach State first. Their program folded. Then he went to UGA.
Right.
Played at Georgia. But I'm talking about, we got some kids coming out of Dago that are straight dogs. I'm talking about like that are going big time, like Pac-12, SEC. Not like, I'm going to, you know, like a smaller school or whatever. Like the kids are showing out. And I think that's because back in the day when we did the passing league, it was called passing league, not 7-on-7. Now it's a circuit. If you're on the 7-on-7 circuit, these coaches and scouts.
What's the difference from both?
Well, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. They changed the name of it.
Yeah. So basically what it is like in the spring, when high school football players are playing, they just bring the offenses out. And it's kind of like a flag football game against other offenses, but it's an opportunity for...
And they pick kids from all different...
No, each school has their passing league team. So the quarterback will go out there, the wide receivers, the tight ends, you know what I mean? And
offense. Yeah,
and they kind of scrimmage against each other, but it gives the scouts and the other schools opportunity to see who they're going to be playing against and kind of how they stack up.
And it's a chemistry thing.
Yeah.
Like so they work, like Derek was saying, they work on it in like March or April. That way when August and September comes, like I know he's going to be right there on that route because we worked on this all spring long, things of that nature. But now that's just changed it now that back then it wasn't as prominent as now. It's a circuit. These dudes are going around the country playing 7-on-7 things and they're getting looked at. It's just so much, it's so different now. So these kids are starting at such a younger age than they were back then.
Yeah.
Like when we were younger.
Yeah.
Now these kids are getting looked at. I mean, there was a young man, I believe it was Julian Sayin, the young man I cover in Carlsbad. He's going to Alabama. Florida State offered him, I believe, in 8th grade.
Wow.
I'm like,
that's crazy.
Like this kid hasn't even got to high school yet, and Florida State was already on him. Derwin James from the Chargers.
Yep.
Bobby Bowden, Florida State. They offered him, I think, in 7th or 8th grade. Like, hey, you know, and like he ended up, you know, obviously he's on the Chargers. He's out there balling, doing his thing. But they tap in, like, you know,
early,
basically out the womb.
Early.
You're like 12 or 13. If you're balling, you're already on the radar.
Yeah, things have changed, man. Yeah. Things have changed. It's definitely not average out there.
And definitely see
social media.
I see the players like now they're like huge, bro. Growing up, they weren't that big.
No, there's a kid in LA that is like 13 years old, 12 years old, has a mustache, like looks like a grown man, and he's running people over. But we've had these conversations before, and it's dope that Nick is here because he gives his professional insight and opinion on it. But we've had conversations about how many professional players are from San Diego.
Yeah,
like,
no one ever talks about that.
And people don't say like, man, I mean, because I think Texas is a huge state for high school football, but I think that like San Diego has a lot of talent that has came from here,
and
starting from Marcus Allen and like.
And I've been in both places.
Rashad, what is it?
Rashawn Salam. He won the Heisman.
One of my favorites.
He and I grew up together in Southeast San Diego.
What about Bush?
Reggie Bush, Alex Smith.
So many.
Eric
Allen.
Terrell Davis.
Moses and Zeke
Moreno.
Dude, like so many. A lot of people.
So now, I mean, I don't really know too much about the sports stuff.
Yeah.
Is San Diego underrated when it comes to sports?
I would say no. I say we're on.
We're on deck.
We're on deck.
Is this
across the board? Baseball. I mean, Joe Musgrove's from here.
Yeah.
I mean, you got
Gonzalez is the brothers. Adrian
Gonzalez is
Tony
from here.
Gwynn.
Went to Eastlake, the Gwynns. I mean, in every sport. I mean, NBA. You got Norman Powell.
Yep.
Bill Walton.
You got the kid in San Isidro right now about to take it over.
Yeah, Mikey Williams.
Yeah, crazy.
Mikey can go.
Mikey went back to Cedro.
Yeah, he's back with the Border Boys now. Him and JJ Taylor are going to Memphis. So they committed to Memphis about a month or so ago. They're going to go to Memphis.
They're going to do great things.
Yeah, so,
wait, Memphis a college or
the college
NBA team?
Memphis Tigers. Yeah, the college. So who knows? Mikey might go 1 and then done to the league, or maybe play 2 and then go to the league.
Yeah.
So I mean,
things have changed, Tom. In terms of like college players now can make money while they're in college.
Wait, so that's why they stripped Bush off of his stuff.
Correct.
But
So-
now Reggie would be cool.
Reggie would be cool.
So can he
it's
get? So
called-
can he
so
fight to get it back?
I don't know how that works with the NIL now. I don't know. They USC they just started letting him go back on campus,
Mhm.
but I think the Heisman's still vacated for that year. I'd have to double check it, but I think Reggie and USC, I believe, had some that falling out, and he wasn't allowed to go back on campus. I think now, I think things are getting smooth
Things
back
are
over
evolving.
Like that. I think he's
Politics.
okay now.
It's politics, yeah, man. It's politics, man. But
Give him his trophy back.
I think that he should give him his
He
trophy back.
earned it. And I'm not talking about Kim either.
You're not talking. Oh, damn. Come
Hey man, all
Was
right.
it with,
Wow.
Reggie Bush was number one for a reason. Nah, but Nick, man, it's been amazing to have you here,
Yeah.
man. Thank you so
Kim
much
McKay
for.
baddie though. She baddie. I'm mad at you, Reg.
I'll take the Heisman over
Hey,
Kim, bro.
so prep pigskin report, and we'll close out with this. Like, man, what is it like covering the kids? We saw the award show where you're giving out the young man from Lincoln the award.
Yeah.
I see you out there on the carpet in a suit, but with Nikes on. But I see you really vibing with the kids, man. Like, what do you see? What do you see yourself in, the next couple of years and with PPR, and what's the next level?
Man, I obviously just grinding over there. The McKinnons they're really good to us over there. I mean, we cover everything under the sun from high school, SDSU, Padres. I mean, I still talk about the Chargers on the weekend, even though the Changers left us. I still talk about them.
The
'cause-
Changers?
I mean, because they're still. I mean,
The
they're still
Changers.
My bad, the Changers. The Changers. I mean, they're still relevant though. People
Yeah.
still. I mean, there's those fans that like they left us, but then there's other fans that are like they're still ride or die for them, even though they burnt off, knowing it wasn't like hey,
Shout out to the
Keenan
Bull Pride.
Allen. Yeah, it wasn't like Keenan Allen. And them like, hey, we want to bounce. It was like an executive decision above their pay grade that
I
they
got
had
you.
to bounce or whatever. But I mean, I love being there. Like I said, we have the most. We have the most people in the sports department in San Diego. A lot of people have 2 or 3 at their station. We have like 5 or 6 cats, and we're running around. We're covering everything under the sun.
That's dope.
You guys do
it's-
really good with
Yeah,
that.
so we
Yeah,
run
man.
around, and it's really cool to watch. Like I said earlier, to watch the kids. Start from the bottom, and now they're here. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? It's just like it's so cool to see them like do their thing, ball out, and all the hard work pays off, and then they get their education paid for at the next level. And not only that, even if you don't go play at the next level, I mean, I got a lot of kids that they ball out and they go be firemen, or kids. A young man in San Pasqual I covered. He played his career, had a great career, but he just probably didn't have the measurables. And he's like, you know what? I'm done playing.
It's all good.
And but I mean, just to see those kids go into different paths and avenues, and then you run into them later on, it's really cool. They're like, hey, I remember you used to cover me back in the day.
That's
blah, blah,
dope.
blah. So it's cool because like that interaction that I have with them, it's always genuine. Like whether you're in the league playing on Sundays or you're just you're doing something outside of playing sports,
Yeah.
it's still a genuine thing. Like, you run into parents and they'll talk to you at the games. Hey, you covered my older son now. He's an electrician now, da da da. Now you're covering my younger son.
That's dope.
So it's cool to see that you keep those bonds and those relationships together, like with just chopping it up. And you never know that like one interview from a kid, I mean, they're gonna remember that for the rest of their life.
Oh,
and,
they
and
will.
to me, it's just like I'm just chopping it up with you. But then I'll see them later on. They're like, "Hey, do you remember we chopped it up?" I'm like, "Oh, hey, what's going on?" And it's like it's just a cool feeling that like you kind of touch them like for that one moment or whatever. Like when we do the signing days, like the kid can only sign once.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like we do those signing days, they get that day once. That can't be duplicated.
Damn, we have to
They
bring them back
sign-
another
yes.
time and
Yeah.
talk about these signings.
Yeah, dog. Because
this-
the experience, you're with people with life experiences, Nick.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. So let them know where they can find you at, man, on the social media. I know you got some stuff out there.
No, you can find me. I don't have the Instagram and all that. I keep up with it, but I do it for work for KUSI. But my own for Twitter is just njames at Dago619. You can find me on there on Twitter. I post. I'm just not like super like I'm not really like super like savvy like the young kids I work with. I guess that's when I just become a dinosaur with all that. I need to get on top of it so I can get my numbers up like Kimmy K and Reggie and whatever. So I mean, I'll do Twitter. I'm more of a Twitter guy and Facebook,
Yeah.
and I'm really the Facebook thing for me is just I like FB because it's more genuine and everyone that that's on there is in your circle.
Got you.
Nick
or
James still on
whatever.
MySpace, bro.
Hit me on MySpace.
Hit me on
Click-
MySpace,
Click
you know what
my
I'm
new
saying?
track on there.
Hit me on my email.
Last thing I want to know.
AOL.com. AOL dial up.
One last thing I want to know from you, bro. Most intense, most memorable game you ever were a part of. Intense,
That's a good
memorable,
one.
or
Last year, Lucky Sutton Cathedral, 7 tubs in the state champ in the game to go to the state championship game. I think the final was like 63-56 or something like that. Young man for Cathedral, and Cathedral ended up winning the state championship. But I think I was at the
for
game.
the second for 2 years back to back.
No, I think they won it last year. They didn't win this year. They didn't win this year. They
No.
won. So it was last year. So Lucky Sutton was their all everything running back. He now plays at SDSU. So he's at San Diego State. So I was covering this game, and I just remember because it was last year, and Lucky was just going in. Like, I mean, I think he had like 450 and 6 or 7 tubs. But it was one of those games like whoever had the ball last was going to win. And it started off kind of slow, and all of a sudden, like they punched, Lucky would punch, the other team punched, and it was one of those things where like if you had to see it to like be, I mean, I'm talking like big chunk runs, 50 yards, 50 a pop, 60-yard runs,
Big plays.
big plays. I mean, he had like 450, I think, in 6 or 7 tubs. And he was our silver pigskin winner for KUSI as well on PPR.
Oh,
And he
So
won
those are
the-
touchdowns. Tubs are touchdowns.
Yeah, I was thinking. I was like, what is a tub?
Yes,
I was
Everybody
like-
doesn't know the lingo,
Yeah.
but we appreciate you, man. Nah, it's all, man. That's
game,
dope.
Yeah, that game was off.
Man,
the
we
chain.
gotta
That
we
game
gotta
was
have
We got to
come
get you back.
bro.
Yeah, we got to
Yeah.
get you back,
Yeah,
man.
hell
That's the design of it. We want to be able to, really take the deep dive, man. But Nick, it's really dope for you to just come on and pop in with us, man.
Absolutely.
Congratulations, bro.
Congratulations to
absolutely.
everything
Thank
you do.
And you're from our turf.
Yeah,
Continued
right here,
success
Chula
to
Vista,
you.
class of 91, Mario Lopez and Donnie Edwards. Shout out. What's
Let's
up,
go. Hey.
Hey.
Hey,
What's up,
but-
Slater? What's good? What's good, fam?
Hey, can you tell that dude to stop repping LA, dude?
I know he reps
He's a
LA.
Dodger
Oh,
fan.
man.
I know,
But
right?
he come to San Diego, want to put a hat on after
I
he
know,
gets
right?
smashed
Oh,
on.
man. Here we
I-
go.
That's where we're gonna end it
Here
on
we
that.
go.
We're gonna end it on that, man.
Hey, Beth, where can they find you at, man?
Hey, follow me, but my Instagram is at Cali Burrito.
Cali burrito with sour cream and guacamole or no?
Just Cali Burrito. That's it.
And you can find me at Derek Goes on Instagram, man. And don't forget our production assistant, King Matt,
Yes,
619
sir.
in the building. Matt, what up? How you feeling, man? Let's get it.
All right, and thank you to our partners, Two Streams.
Two
and,
Streams.
Hey, don't forget to check out other episodes too, man. Please
Man,
do
we
that.
really appreciate you guys. We'll see you next time.
Hey,
Peace.